with the hiring of Kenny Atkinson, let's talk about, okay? You want to hear what we're going to talk about? I also need to erase this because I realized that I was kind of too low. But look, let's talk about this offseason of the Charlotte Hornets. They're the one team that I have not done the offseason for because I was actually waiting for the head coach, as you guys saw with the Lakers and the Sacramento Kings. I actually did a Utah Jazz one already, but that was before I knew they were going to fire Quinn Snyder. But now that we're going to do the Charlotte Hornets, we have officially done all 30 teams in the NBA's offseason preview besides the Boston Celtics. Well, we've done 28. Fuck me. Either way, let's talk about the Charlotte Hornets. What do you guys think about them? Do you guys think Kenny Atkinson was the right coach? The guy who brings defensive structure and player development. And I guess we could let's talk about Kenny Atkinson to start the video off, to give you guys a little foresight of what to be expected from Kenny Atkinson as the head coach of the Charlotte Hornets. Look, Kenny Atkinson's 55 years old. He served at the Nets head coach from 2016 to 2020. He had a record of 118 to 190. They made the playoffs under Atkinson in 2018 to 2019. He stepped down after being forced out on March 7, 2020, became the assistant of the Clippers for a season in 2020 to 2021 before joining the Warriors this past year. In his first season with the Warriors as an assistant, they are in the NBA Finals against the Boston Celtics. And hiring Atkinson is latest in a busy offseason for the Hornets. They fired their head coach, James Borrego, after 4 seasons. And then on the 19th, they gave Mitch Kupchak a multi-year extension. This is a team that hasn't been in the playoffs since 2015 to 2016. They've made the play-in tournament back-to-back years and finished in 10th place last year in the Eastern Conference with a 43-39 record. Now, look, the irony is that his resume doesn't seem that different from the one that they departed of, James Borrego. Atkinson, like Borrego, is a branch off the Popovich tree via Mike Budenholzer and Steve Kerr, and believes strongly in player development. The hope is that he can get more out of the Hornets defensively after they leaked defensively at points a year ago, but he'll have trouble pulling this off without one or more quality size players and acquisitions on the roster. And the expectation is Charlotte lost in the play-in round if each of the last 2 seasons under Borrego, with LaMelo Ball and Miles Bridges ascending and 2 more draft picks in the top 15 of the draft. The hope is the Hornets can break into the top 6 of the Eastern Conference and secure their first playoff berth since 2016 by shoring up the defense in the front court. Will help them go a long way to achieving that. Now, let's talk about some moves that they could make that should be done. Now, first off, Kenny Atkinson was the first thing they needed to do. They chose the right coach. Now they need to maximize their draft picks. You could talk about, hey, should they make a 3-team deal? I just saw a 3-team deal of where the Hornets could receive Frank Ntilikina and Miles Turner in exchange for sending the Indiana Pacers, Gordon Hayward, Davis Bertans, and the 15th pick and the 26th pick from Dallas, the 2045 and 2025 second-round picks from Dallas, and you send Dallas Buddy Hield, okay? And I don't know if that's 100% a great deal. Again, I'm not a huge fan of those types of deal. I'd rather them just keep the 13th and 15th pick. And with the 13th and 15th pick, they already have James Bouknight, they have Kai Jones, they have JT Thor, but those guys are more wings and forwards. I believe with the 13th and 15th pick, with the 13th pick, let's go Ochai Agbaji. And with the 15th pick, let's take the remainder, Jalen Duren or Mark Williams. If they're both there, take Jalen Duren. If one's there, take the remaining, because the other one could be either Mark Williams or Jalen Duren is either going to the Knicks or the Spurs at 9 or 12, which means the Hornets will choose from either Mark Williams, who's the second biggest center to enter the draft since Taco Fall in size of, length, in terms of length, or they go and get themselves Jalen Duren, who's a great rim runner, kind of been compared to Bam Adebayo. Now, we go into free agency. They should retain PJ Washington and Miles Bridges. We'll talk about Miles Bridges more in a second, but PJ Washington specifically has improved every single year and is, Washington's, he's a guy who's good, okay? He's a stretch four. He's a high motor athleticism, 37.5% three-point career shooter. He's averaged 5.7 rebounds per game, and at 6'7", 230 pounds, defensively is where about his value lies. He can be a small ball 5 or a stretch 4. He's eligible for a 4-year, $65 million extension. That seems fair for both sides, and he can guard 1 through 5, and I think he's a guy that they need to keep. Now, Miles Bridges was one of the most improved players last year, and I think he's the guy who should have been most improved player of the year instead of John Morant. He averaged 20.2 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists a game, and failed to reach a contracted agreement with the Hornets last offseason. Now he's a restricted free agent, which means the Hornets will have a chance to match any offer sheet he's given. Losing Bridges is not an option. Bridges was the team's leading scorer this season, and his value goes far beyond what he does on the court. Bridges is the team's longest tenured player and has a strong bond with his teammates in LaMelo Ball and Terry Rozier especially. Now, they need to add depth on this roster, and I think a couple players that they could look at would be Gary Payton II. He's an excellent defender. He's able to disrupt passing lanes. He's in the NBA final. His size allows him to guard multiple positions. Offensively, he turned a corner this year as he's now able to space the floor, and he's a great slasher and pick and roll. They need bigs. Jalen Smith, he looked like a double-double machine last year for the Indiana Pacers. At 22 years old, he had his third year declined by the Suns, so now he's a free agent, unrestricted. They can sign him long-term. He looks like a young, big Stick Smith who could be a double-double machine who could stretch the floor and provide some solid defense. Now, another guy from the Warriors wings, Porter, Otto Porter Jr., capable 3-and-D wing who can play the 3 or the 4, and he's another perimeter defender and even post defender, you could argue, that could strengthen the Hornets roster in depth. And another guy that I think they could look at, Gary Harris. He showed that this past season he still can be a capable shooter/scorer, but he's a great wing defender, and if the Hornets could sign him at the right price, he could provide excellent backup minutes at either the shooting guard or small forward spots. And look, Isaiah Thomas could be brought back. He had some nice moments with the team at the end of the season, and the young players respect his voice. Now, the other guys that if they do get Gary Payton, Otto Porter, and Gary Harris, and Jalen Smith, if they do get multiple of those guys I said, they could go get some vets. I think a vet like Wes Matthews, an above-average shooter for his career the past couple of years. He's been but he's still an elite defender that could slide into the Charlotte's rotation with relative ease, or he could just not play much and be a vocal voice. A big man like Dwayne Dedmon, Bismack Biyombo, JaVale McGee would be awesome. I've seen Dwight Howard floated out there, but I doubt Dwight Howard would go there. He's probably going to stay in LA, and if he goes anywhere else, I could see him Miami or Brooklyn, but I really think he likes LA and playing with LeBron. But the theory is that Dwight Howard, at this veteran minimum point of his career, is a realistic target to come back to Charlotte. People forgot about Dwight Howard in Charlotte. But yeah, let me hear your thoughts down below. What do you guys think of this? That's the video.